For nearly 3 months, the Cleveland Browns have been playing a game that had nothing to do with football. They've been tiptoeing around the inevitable, dancing around the obvious, avoiding the conversation that everyone from Cleveland to Boulder to every single corner of football-obsessed America knew was coming. They rotated veterans like they were shuffling a deck of cards. They clung to Dillon Gabriel's calm demeanor like it was a life raft. They leaned on scouting reports, analytics, safe choices, anything and everything they could find to delay the moment that was always going to arrive. But now there's absolutely no more hiding from it. The truth just walked through the door and sat down at the head of the table. Shedeur Sanders is the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Not for a single drive. Not because of an emergency injury situation. Not as some backup option they're testing out for a quarter. This time, it's the real thing. This time, the keys to the entire offense are in his hands. And this time, Shedeur Sanders fully intends to show the entire football world exactly why he should have had those keys a long, long time ago. The moment became brutally official this week when Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski finally confirmed what everyone already knew needed to happen. Shedeur would take every single first-team rep leading into Sunday's massive matchup with the Las Vegas Raiders. His first real week as QB1. Not QB2 pretending to be prepared. Not the understudy watching from the shadows. Not the scout team magician running other teams' plays to help the defense prepare. This week, Shedeur Sanders is the star of the entire show. One veteran Browns assistant was reportedly overheard muttering just 2 words that said everything. It's about time. Most rookies who become starters spend months getting groomed for the role. They get gradual increases in practice reps. They get meetings tailored specifically to their development. They get a carefully constructed developmental path designed to maximize their chances of success. Shedeur spent months watching from the sideline. Most backup quarterbacks at least get a handful of meaningful practice snaps with the first-team offense, so they're somewhat prepared if their number gets called. Shedeur got exactly none. 0. Most next-man-up situations in the NFL are paired with some level of intentional preparation, some contingency planning in case the starter goes down. Shedeur entered his NFL debut last Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens with absolutely 0 meaningful reps with the first-team offense. He called it breaking the barrier in his post-game interview, politely describing what was essentially a setup job, a situation designed to make him fail. And here's where it gets absolutely wild and completely unacceptable. The Cleveland Browns quarterbacks are 0-17 in their first career starts since the team rejoined the NFL back in 1999. Let that number sink in and marinate in your brain for a second. A quarterback has never, not once, not ever, won their first NFL start in Cleveland going back 27 years. That's not just bad luck. That's organizational dysfunction on a level that's almost impressive in how consistently terrible it is. Look at the names on that list. Tim Couch, Spurgon Wynn, Luke McCown, Charlie Fry, Derek Anderson, Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Brandon Weeden, Thad Lewis, Johnny Manziel, Connor Shaw, Cody Kessler, Deshaun Kaiser, Kevin Hogan, Baker Mayfield, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Dillon Gabriel. That's not a quarterback draft history. That's a graveyard of crushed dreams and destroyed careers. Maybe it's just organizational bad luck. Maybe there's something cursed about that building in Cleveland. Or maybe, just maybe, the Browns have absolutely no idea how to develop, support, or properly utilize quarterback talent when they actually have it. And yet, that's the beauty and the absolute cruelty of the NFL wrapped into one brutal package. You don't get to choose when your number is called. You don't get to pick the perfect moment when everything's aligned and you're completely ready. When Dillon Gabriel went down with a concussion last weekend, the rookie phenom was thrown straight into the Baltimore Ravens defensive buzzsaw without any warning, without any timing with his receivers, without any chemistry with his offensive line, and without a single meaningful practice rep with the first-team offense. Predictably, if you're just looking at the surface, the numbers were absolutely ugly. 4 completions on 16 attempts, 47 passing yards, 1 interception, 2 sacks. A passer rating of 13.5 that makes you want to look away from the stat sheet entirely. But here's what the box score doesn't show you, what the casual fans scrolling Twitter don't understand, what the hot take artists on sports radio completely missed. Buried inside those miserable statistics was something real, something meaningful, something that Kevin Stefanski and the entire Browns organization should have recognized long before Dillon Gabriel even hit the turf. Even with no reps, no rhythm, no timing, and no real support from a coaching staff that seemed completely unprepared for this scenario, Sanders marched the Browns into a legitimate position to tie the game late in the fourth quarter against one of the league's best defenses. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't clean, it wasn't polished, but he got them there. He showed pocket presence. He showed the ability to read defenses on the fly. He showed toughness, taking hits and bouncing right back up. He showed leadership, rallying guys who barely knew him. And most importantly, he showed that when you actually give him time and let him work, he can find completions and make plays. He ripped a perfect completion on that 2-minute drill that actually put the Browns in position to have a chance at tying the game. Getting him on the edge, using designed rollouts, letting him use his mobility, that's all part of what makes him special. The talent is obviously there. The question was never about talent. The question was always about opportunity and preparation. Now, for the first time since he arrived in Cleveland, Shedeur gets an actual week of real preparation. He gets command of the offense. He gets ownership of the game plan. He gets the offense catered specifically to his strengths rather than trying to learn someone else's system on the fly while being treated like an afterthought. This is where the real Shedeur Sanders finally enters the frame and shows everyone what he's actually capable of doing. Shedeur Sanders stood behind the microphone Wednesday afternoon at his press conference with the exact same confidence he carried throughout his time at Colorado. The same natural charisma that makes people want to listen when he talks. The same controlled swagger that separates great quarterbacks from merely good ones. The same unshakable belief in himself that has always separated him from the other rookies who hear their names called late on draft weekend and just feel grateful to be there. "I know I'm the guy," he said without hesitation or doubt in his voice. "I would be doing a disservice to myself and to this organization if I didn't feel that way." That wasn't arrogance talking. That wasn't cockiness or ego. That was pure clarity. That was a man who knows exactly who he is and what he's capable of doing. Shedeur didn't come to Cleveland to be a spectator holding a clipboard. He didn't come here to run the scout team and pretend to be opposing quarterbacks. He didn't come here to be eased along slowly like some nervous apprentice who needs his hand held every step of the way. He came to take a job that many people around the league believed he should have won months and months ago. And now, finally, with the Browns officially turning the page and committing to him, the offense is being reshaped and rebuilt around his specific skill set. For the first time since arriving in Cleveland, Shedeur gets to see routes develop from the actual release point, not from the sideline where you can't feel the timing. He gets to feel how his offensive linemen set up in protection. He gets to dictate the rhythm of the offense instead of just reacting to chaos. He gets to build real timing and chemistry with Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, and all the playmakers who were complete strangers to him until 6 chaotic minutes in Week 11 forced them together in the worst possible circumstances. "I need to feel it. I need to move around. That's how I learn," Shedeur explained to reporters. "This week I finally get that opportunity. And the Browns, whether they're willing to fully admit it or not, will finally see exactly what they've been sitting on this entire time. Nobody in the media wants to say it out loud because it sounds too crazy, too bold, too much like wishful thinking. But the comparison is there, hovering in the air like smoke you can't ignore. Tom Brady, 2001. The injury to Drew Bledsoe. The long shot, 6th-round pick, suddenly granted an opportunity he was supposedly too raw and inexperienced to handle. And then the improbable rise that followed, changing the entire NFL landscape for 2 decades. Is Shedeur Sanders the next Tom Brady? Of course not. Nobody's saying that. But the situation, the circumstances, the setup, it all smells remarkably familiar if you're paying attention. A franchise completely stuck in neutral, spinning its wheels and going nowhere. A young quarterback who was previously overlooked and disrespected by the entire league. a sudden vacancy at the starting position, and a stage much larger than anyone expected for a fifth-round draft pick who wasn't supposed to matter this quickly. There's a reason every single sports show in America has been absolutely salivating over this story all week long. Even the skeptics, the people who don't believe in Shedeur, can't turn away from watching what happens next. Even the critics, the analysts who think he improvises too much, who think he relies too heavily on his athletic ability, who think he rightfully should have been drafted in the 5th round rather than the 1st, are completely glued to this moment. Because whether you love Shedeur Sanders or doubt everything about him, you know this one undeniable truth. His first start is going to say something profound. Maybe about him, maybe about the Browns, maybe about all 31 teams who passed on him over and over and over again in April. And in the NFL, where narratives and storylines define futures just as much as raw talent ever does, that matters more than almost anything else. But let's be completely honest about something important here. Cleveland isn't exactly handing Shedeur the keys to a Ferrari that's perfectly tuned and ready to dominate. The offensive line is battered and bruised. The run game has completely stalled out. The receivers have been wildly inconsistent from week to week. The coaching staff has been under constant fire from fans and media. And the franchise has started 41 different quarterbacks since 1999, creating an absolute graveyard of careers, hype trains, false saviors, and crushed dreams. But here's the thing that separates Shedeur Sanders from almost every other young quarterback in his position. He isn't flinching even slightly. Pressure? He loves it. Expectations? He welcomes them with open arms. Chaos? He was literally born into it, raised in it, shaped by it his entire life. "I like pressure in life," he said with complete sincerity. "That rush everyone feels when the stakes are high, that's what makes it fun for me." Even after thieves broke into his home last weekend and stole over $200,000 worth of property, and this happened on the exact same night he was fighting for a comeback against Baltimore, Shedeur didn't blink or lose focus for even a second. Football was still all he cared about. That doesn't just show maturity beyond his years. That shows purpose. That shows a level of mental toughness that you absolutely cannot teach. For the first time in Cleveland, the game plan is being built specifically for Shedeur Sanders. Not around him as an afterthought. Not with him as one option among many. For him. Quick reads that match his processing speed. Timing throws that utilize his accuracy. Designed rollouts that take advantage of his mobility. Comfort routes that he's run 1,000 times. His pace, his instincts, his strengths. This is the week of preparation he should have received all the way back in August during training camp. This is the developmental focus he should have been granted when Joe Flacco was traded away. This is the path he should have been on from the very first moment he walked into the Browns facility in Berea. Instead, he's getting it now, in Week 12, with an entire franchise and arguably the entire NFL world staring directly at him, waiting to see if he succeeds or fails. And somehow, in the strangest way possible, that feels perfectly fitting for Shedeur Sanders. Whether he absolutely lights up the Raiders' defense and looks like a future franchise quarterback, or whether he struggles through some inevitable growing pains that come with being a rookie making his first start, Sunday's game in Las Vegas will be a major inflection point in the Browns' messy, chaotic, completely unpredictable 2025 season. But Shedeur Sanders isn't walking into that stadium carrying fear or doubt on his shoulders. He's walking in with pure conviction. Conviction that he should have been the starting quarterback months ago. Conviction that he is the future of this franchise, whether people want to admit it yet or not. Conviction that his start in Las Vegas isn't just a temporary substitution until someone else gets healthy. It's a complete takeover. "I know I'm the guy," he repeated again on Wednesday, making sure everyone understood exactly where his head was at. And on Sunday, he finally gets a full 60 minutes of game time to prove it to everyone watching. And if he's right, if those flashes of brilliance we saw at Colorado translate to the NFL level, if the timing clicks with Jerry Jeudy, if the offense finally breathes with rhythm and purpose instead of looking disjointed and confused, then all the waiting, all the unnecessary delays, all the hesitation, all those overly cautious decisions will look like the Browns wasted precious time they'll never, ever get back. Because this time, Shedeur Sanders isn't coming off the bench as a backup. He's coming for the starting job. He's coming for the future of this franchise. He's coming to show Cleveland and the entire National Football League that they waited far too long to give him the keys to this offense. And now that those keys are finally in his hands, he doesn't plan on giving them back to anyone. Not now, not ever. This is his moment. This is his team. This is his time. And the entire football world is about to find out exactly what happens when you finally unleash Shedeur Sanders instead of holding him back. The Browns have been a disaster at the quarterback position for nearly 3 decades. They've failed prospect after prospect. They've destroyed careers and wasted talent. They've made the wrong decision over and over again. But maybe, just maybe, they finally stumbled into something real with Shedeur Sanders. Maybe this 5th-round pick who everyone overlooked is exactly what this cursed franchise has been desperately searching for all along. We're about to find out. And trust me, you won't want to miss a single second of what happens next. If you're as fired up about this story as I am, make sure you smash that like button right now. Drop a comment below telling me whether you think Shedeur is about to shock the world or if the Browns are going to Browns this up like they always do. And subscribe to this channel so you never miss another explosive story that the mainstream media won't give you straight. Hit that notification bell because we're bringing you all the real talk, all the drama, and all the truth about what's really happening in the sports world. I'll see you in the next one where we keep exposing everything they don't want you to know.